working with live, we want to set the maximum efficiency with our computer system to work with our application of live. So we need to optimize our computer system, particularly to cut back on latency. So we're going to go here to the preference menu again. And the easy way of getting there is actually, for here, in this case, to just press Option and the comma. And I'm right there. And here it is right here. Let's pull this up. And of course, if you're a PC, you're going to go to Options. Now, we can see here that my buffer size is set to 512 samples. And the input latency is at 14.3 milliseconds. And the output latency is 13.1, giving us a total of 27.4 milliseconds. Now, what does this mean? If I'm playing something, I'm playing a bass guitar, I'm playing a little keyboard part, I'm going into live, there'll be a little latency. I'll play it, and then about 27 milliseconds later, I'm hearing it. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but it is, because you're playing it. You want to play it and hear it at the same time. So it takes some time. This is a computer system. It's got to get the information in. Oh, he's playing these notes. Oh, it wants to go there. It's routed here. It's routed there. And then you hear it back. So between the time you hit it, it's got to go through the entire system and be heard. So that's pretty efficient, actually. But for us, being humans, we want to play it and hear it. So we want to bring the latency down. And I prefer somewhere below 14 somewhere is always best. So here, Live has given us this test feature, which is really cool. So I can go here and test it out. So, about buffer size. Now, if I'm going to use plugins and more tracks, I need more buffer size. I need more CPU power. I need more power from the system. I've got to have a bigger buffer size of data can be chunked out. I don't use this much data, or that much data, or this much bigger data, or smaller data. So, when I'm doing vocals, or I'm going to record into live with a keyboard or whatever, and I'm recording audio in, we need to have a smaller buffer size so that we create this ability for it to just have a small buffer size and to lower the latency. So what I want to do is click here where it says buffer size, and you got to check your interface, whether it's 512, or it's 256, or 128, or 64, or 32. So these are all multiples, obviously. So in this case, I'm going to go to 128. I press enter. My buffer size now is at 10 milliseconds. See that? Now to test this out, we're going to go to here. But first I want to do is I want to set up my CPU simulator. Some usage. This is simulator here. So I want to raise my CPU up to about 80%, which is good. This time I use a maximum. I get to see if it's going to be going up or down. I'll turn my tone on. Now the tone can be controlled here. Of course, I get to dB to dB0. It's louder. The lower, it's softer. See? Okay, good. And now as we hear it, we're hearing the tone's consistent. It's clean. If I go to a lower buffer size, let's say go to 64. Now we're hearing some sort of noise in it. See that? We're hearing more noise. Now if I go to 32, we'll hear a lot more noise. There's a lot more noise going on there. Lower this tone down. So for me, from what I was hearing, it seemed like 128 was pretty good. I'll turn it up somewhat, get an idea what it sounds like. And it's consistent. There's no problem with the power. And this is why we're doing this. We want to make sure that we can test and see if this buffer size is going to be efficient enough for us to play back and to be able to play and then to hear it back at the same time without too much of a latency happening within the system overall. And once that's set up, you're good to go. Now you'll notice here, since I press this buffer on, you'll notice here in the upper right-hand corner within live window, it says 80%. So this is giving us our CPU usage right there. Okay, that's good. Let's use my simulator. So I'm going to use it about 120. It's pretty good for me. And I'll keep it there for my buffer size. Now, when I start mixing, I will increase that back up to the maximum I want to get to. You know, I may go to 512, or I may go to 1024, which will be double 512. So all depending how much buffer size I want to use when I actually start using a lot of plugins, a lot of tracks, and get my system really running, you want to adjust it. So a lot of tracks, higher buffer size, it's going to record into the system of live a lower buffer size. Now also, what we want to do next is we want to go to the multi-core, multi-processor support. Now some computers today come out with these dual-core systems, 3-core systems, a lot of cores in there, so that it gives you more power. But some applications only allow to use 1 core, or you can use a half core, So what happens is that what Live has done is made it easier for you. So you can use multi-core, multi-processor support. I may have more processors. I may have more cores in a dual-core system. So I can use it all because the support is here within Live. And below this, we have the multi-core rewire, which we'll explain later on when we use rewire. Next, we have plug-in buffer size. So I'm using plugins like reverbs or compressors or EQs. Each one of those requires a buffer size. And I can use it as audio buffer, which I prefer to do, leave it in this system. But in case you want to just adjust that and lower it down some, you can just change it right here and set your buffer size right there for your audio buffers. And that'll set the size for your plug-in buffer size totally. So once we've optimized our computer, we're ready to start with more lessons. And the first one will be on Windows next, how to use the Live main window.